Li Hyun pressed his face against the small window of the transport ship. Stars filled the darkness outside, more stars than he had ever seen from Earth. After 3 weeks of travel through space, he was finally here. Kepler Military Academy waited ahead, a massive space station that looked like a small city floating among the stars. The transport ship carried 200 cadets from dozens of different worlds. Hyun had tried to talk to some of them during the journey, but most seemed afraid of him. They would look at his file, see the word Earth next to his name, and suddenly find reasons to be somewhere else. "First time seeing so many aliens?" asked a voice behind him. Hyun turned around. Another human sat there, a young man about his own age with short black hair and friendly eyes. "I'm Tae-min," the stranger said. "Kim Tae-min, from Seoul." "Lee Hyun." "Busan," Hyun replied, relieved to finally meet another human. "Have you been watching them too?" Tae-min nodded toward the other passengers. "The fluffy ones are Nethari. They come from a world where the gravity is so weak that they can almost fly. Those crystal people are Zephyrite. Their planet has perfect weather all the time, never too hot or cold." Hyun watched a group of tall, graceful beings with pale blue skin. They moved like dancers, every step smooth and perfect. "Altarians," Timon explained. "Their world is like a paradise. No storms, no earthquakes, no dangerous animals. They live for 300 years and never get sick. They all look so clean," Hyun said. "That's because they are," Timon laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. "We're the only ones from what they call a death world. Most of these cadets have never seen real danger in their entire lives." The transport ship moved closer to the academy. Through the window, Hyun could see that the station was even bigger than he had thought. Gardens grew inside glass domes. Waterfalls fell from one level to another. Everything looked perfect and peaceful. "Attention all cadets," came a voice over the speakers. "We will dock in 10 minutes. Please prepare for arrival." Around them, the alien cadets gathered their belongings. Hyun noticed how carefully they moved, how gently they handled everything. A Nethari cadet dropped a small bag, and 3 others rushed to help pick it up, treating it like it might break. "Is everything made of glass here?" Hyun whispered to Tae-min. "Might as well be," Tae-min replied quietly. "Just remember what they taught us in the prep course. Move slowly. Don't grab things too hard. Don't pat anyone on the back. What feels normal to us might kill them." The transport ship connected to the academy with a soft bump. Hyun barely felt it, but several alien cadets grabbed onto walls to steady themselves. The airlock opened, and cool, sweet air flowed in. It smelled like flowers and rain. They followed the other cadets through clean, white corridors. Everything was perfectly lit, perfectly clean, perfectly safe. The gravity felt strange under Hyun's feet. It was weaker than Earth's gravity, making each step feel like he might bounce. "Welcome, cadets, to Kepler Military Academy," announced a voice that echoed through the halls. They entered a huge chamber filled with hundreds of cadets from many different species. At the front of the room stood the biggest alien Hyun had ever seen. It looked like a giant praying mantis, standing, 3 meters tall on 4 legs. Its head moved back and forth as it studied the new arrivals. "I am Commandant Veltar," the creature said in a voice that clicked and buzzed. "You are here because your worlds believe you have potential. Some of you come from civilized planets with advanced technology and peaceful societies. Others..." The Commandant's large eyes seemed to look directly at Hyun. Others come from more challenging environments. A holographic display appeared in the air, showing pictures of different worlds. Hyun saw the beautiful gardens of Altair Prime, the floating cities of Nethari, the crystal mountains of Zephyros. Then Earth appeared on the screen, and the room became very quiet. Earth, Commandant Veltar said. Classification: Deathworld, Class 12. Gravity, 1.0 standard units. Weather, extreme and unpredictable. Native life forms, highly aggressive. Survival rating for most galactic species, less than 1%. Hyun felt every eye in the room turned toward him, and the other. Human cadets. Some aliens moved away from them. Others stared with open curiosity, like they were looking at dangerous animals in a zoo. The humans among you have survived on one of the most hostile planets in known space, the Commandant continued. This gives them certain advantages. It also means they require careful handling. Their world has made them strong, but it has also made them unpredictable. A Nethari cadet near Hyun whispered to her friend, "Do you think they'll go crazy and attack someone?" "I heard they eat meat from animals they kill themselves," the friend whispered back. Hyun wanted to tell them that humans weren't monsters, that they were just people trying to learn and serve like everyone else. But he remembered his training. Don't make sudden movements. Don't speak too loudly. Don't give them any reason to fear you more than they already do. You will be assigned to dormitories based on your species' environmental needs. Commandant, Veltar announced. Training begins tomorrow at 600 hours. Dismissed. As the cadets filed out of the chamber, Hyun found himself walking next to a group of Altarians. One of them, a female with silver hair, looked at him curiously. "Is it true that your planet tries to kill you every day?" she asked. Hyun thought about Earth's earthquakes and hurricanes, its poisonous plants and dangerous animals, its diseases, and extremes of heat and cold. "Not exactly," he said carefully. "Earth is just Earth. It's home. But how do you sleep at night, knowing that something might attack you?" "We learn to be ready," Hyun said. "We learn to be careful." The Altarian nodded, but Hyun could see she didn't really understand. How could she? Her world was perfect and safe. She had never needed to be ready for danger. Taemin appeared at Hyun's side. "Come on," he said quietly. "Let's find our quarters." They followed signs through more white corridors until they reached the human dormitory section. It was smaller than the others, built stronger, with Earth-normal gravity and atmosphere. As soon as they walked through the door, Hyun felt his body relax. For the first time since leaving Earth, he could move normally. "This is going to be interesting," Taemin said, dropping his bag on one of the beds. Hyun looked out the window, at the peaceful gardens of the academy. Somewhere out there, alien instructors were preparing lessons for students from dozens of worlds. Tomorrow, his real test would begin. Not just learning to be a soldier, but learning to be a human soldier. In a galaxy that saw his species as either monsters or weaklings, he had no idea which assumption would be more dangerous. The alarm rang at exactly 0600 hours, filling the human dormitory with a harsh buzzing sound. Hyun rolled out of bed and landed on his feet, instantly awake. Years of living on Earth had taught him to wake up fast and stay alert. Danger didn't. "Wait for you to feel ready," Taemin groaned from the next bed. "I hate mornings," he mumbled, but he was already getting dressed. Around them, the other human cadets were doing the same. There were only 12 humans in the entire academy, and they all lived in this one section. "Remember the rules," said Park Sora, the only female human cadet. She was an engineering student, small and quiet, but Hyun had noticed that she missed nothing. Move slowly outside our quarters. Don't bump into anyone. Keep your voice down. And don't squeeze when you shake hands, added Kim Dae-ho, a tall young man from the mountains near Seoul. I almost broke a Zephyrite's fingers yesterday, just saying hello. They walked together toward the training areas, passing groups of alien cadets in the corridors. The Natari floated along like they were swimming through air. The Altarians glided with perfect balance. Even the Thoraxians, who came from a heavy gravity world, moved with careful control. The humans walked differently. Each step was solid, and sure, ready to change direction or stop quickly if needed. Their eyes constantly scanned for threats that weren't there, old habits from a dangerous world. "Look at them," whispered a Nathari cadet as they passed. "They walk like predators." Hyun wanted to explain that on Earth, everything was a predator. Plants, animals, weather, even the ground under your feet could kill you without warning. Walking carefully wasn't about hunting. It was about staying alive. They reached the main training hall, a massive space with high ceilings and soft lighting. The floor was covered with thick mats that felt strange under Hyun's feet. Everything was designed to prevent injury, to make sure no one got hurt during practice. Their instructor stood waiting for them. Sergeant Vexhai was a Thoraxian, built like a bull that walked on two legs. His skin was thick and gray, covered with natural armor plates. His world had stronger gravity than most, and he was proud of being tougher than the soft species. "Line up, cadets," Sergeant Vexhai growled. His voice was deep and rough, like stones grinding together. "Today we begin basic combat training." The alien cadets formed neat rows, careful not to get too close to each other. The humans naturally spread out more, keeping space to move. On Earth, being trapped with no room to dodge could mean death. "We'll start with simple exercises," the sergeant announced. "Basic strikes, blocks, and movement patterns. Nothing too difficult for beginners." He demonstrated a punch that moved slowly through the air. The alien cadets watched carefully and tried to copy it. Most of them struggled with the movement, their bodies not used to the concept of hitting something. When Hyun's turn came, he performed the exercise perfectly without thinking. On Earth, children learned to fight before they learned to read. Every human knew how to throw a punch, how to block an attack, how to fall without getting hurt. Sergeant Vexahai stopped in front of him. "Too fast, human. This is basic training, not a real fight." "Sorry, Sergeant," Hyun said, slowing down his movements. But even slow, his technique was flawless. Years of practice on a world where mistakes meant injury had made combat skills as natural as breathing. "Show off," the sergeant muttered, moving on to the next cadet. The training continued with blocking exercises. The alien cadets learned to raise their arms and absorb impact. They practiced against soft pads that barely touched them. When hit, most of them staggered or fell down. The human cadets blocked the same attacks without moving. Their bodies automatically absorbed the force. Muscles and bones hardened by Earth's heavy gravity. What felt like a hard hit to the aliens was barely noticeable to them. "You're not trying hard enough," Sergeant Vexhai told Taemin after a blocking exercise. "I saw you take that hit like it was nothing. Show some effort." "I am trying, Sergeant," Taemin replied. "It just doesn't hurt much." The sergeant's eyes narrowed. "Are you saying my training is too easy for you?" "No, Sergeant. I'm saying Earth is harder." The wrong thing to say. Sergeant Vexahai's face darkened with anger. He had come from Thorax Prime, a world he considered tough and dangerous. He didn't like being told that some backwater planet was worse. During the next exercise, ground fighting, the difference became even more obvious. The alien cadets learned to grapple gently, careful not to hurt each other. They were taught to tap out quickly if caught in a hold, to avoid any chance of injury. Sora was paired with an Altarian cadet named Silandra. The alien was taller and longer-limbed, but when they grappled, Sora easily controlled the match. She moved with the flowing grace of someone who had learned to fight on unstable ground, in changing conditions, against opponents who wanted to kill her. "How are you so strong?" Silandra asked after being gently pinned for the third time. "You're smaller than me." "Dense bones," Sora explained quietly. "Heavy gravity world. Our muscles have to work harder just to move around." "But you're not even trying hard. I can tell." Sora looked uncomfortable. "On Earth, we learn not to use full strength against friends. Too dangerous," Sergeant Vex High overheard. "More Deathworld. Propaganda," he said loudly. "You humans think you're so special because you come from a dangerous planet. But I've seen your files. Your world can't be worse than Thorax Prime." He pulled up a holographic display showing his homeworld. Rocky, mountains, heavy gravity, thick atmosphere. "My people have been warriors for 10,000 years, he announced. "We don't coddle our young or make excuses for weakness." Hyun looked at the images of Thorax Prime. It looked harsh, but in a predictable way. Stable mountains, consistent weather, gravity that never changed. Dangerous but fair. Not like Earth, where the planet itself seemed angry. "Respectfully, Sergeant," Deho said carefully, "Earth is classified Class 12. Thorax Prime is Class 7. "Classifications mean nothing," the sergeant snapped. "They're made up by soft-worlders who are afraid of everything. Real toughness comes from training and discipline, not from living in fear on some primitive rock." The alien cadets watched this exchange with interest. Some seemed to agree with the sergeant. Others looked uncertain, especially those who had seen the humans train. "You think you're tough?" Sergeant Vex High challenged, stepping closer to Hyun. "Let me tell you something, Deathworlder. I've broken bones tougher than yours. I've survived battles that would send you crying for your mother." Hyun said nothing. On Earth, he had learned that the truly dangerous predators didn't waste time making noise. They just attacked. "From now on," the sergeant continued, "you humans will train separately. I'm tired of your excuses and your claims about being special. We'll see how tough you really are when you can't hide behind your planet's reputation." The other human cadets exchanged glances. This was exactly what they had been afraid of. Being singled out, separated, treated like problems to be solved instead of students to be taught. As the training session ended, the alien cadets filed out of the hall. Many of them avoided looking at the humans. Others whispered among themselves, clearly talking about what they had seen. "That went well," Taemin said sarcastically. "He's going to make this difficult for us," Sora observed. Deho cracked his knuckles, a sound that made several nearby aliens jump. "Let him try. We've handled worse than one angry bull." But Hyun wasn't so sure. On Earth, they had faced natural dangers, storms and earthquakes and wild animals. Here, they faced something potentially more dangerous, prejudice backed by authority. A sergeant who wanted to prove that Deathworlders weren't special, no matter what it cost. As they walked back to their quarters, Hyun noticed the way other cadets looked at them now. Fear mixed with curiosity. Some seemed to think the humans were lying about their abilities. Others worried they might be too dangerous to be around. Neither assumption was true, but both were going to cause problems. That night, lying in his bed in the human quarters, Hyun stared at the ceiling and thought about home. On Earth, survival was simple. Watch for danger, react fast, stay alive. Here, the dangers were more complex. Politics, prejudice, the need to fit in while being fundamentally different. Tomorrow would bring more training, more challenges, more opportunities for things to go wrong. Sergeant Vexahai was looking for an excuse to prove his point about Deathworlders. Hyun could only hope that when the test came, he would be ready for it. Outside the window, the peaceful gardens of the academy glowed in artificial starlight. Everything looked calm and safe, but Hyun had learned long ago that looks could be deceiving. 3 weeks had passed since the humans were separated from the other cadets for special training. Each day brought new challenges as Sergeant Vexhai tried to find their breaking point. He made them run longer distances, carry heavier weights, and practice combat drills for extra hours. The alien cadets sometimes stopped to watch through the training hall windows. They saw the humans moving through exercises that would have hospitalized most species, barely breathing hard. What the sergeant meant as punishment, the humans treated as normal activity. "Look at them," whispered Zilnara, a Nathari cadet, to her friends. "They're not even tired." "Maybe they really are different," suggested her companion, a young Altarian named Kethron. "Or maybe they're just pretending to be tough," said another voice. This came from Cadet Zimka, a large Thoraxian, who was Sergeant Vexhai's favorite student. "My people are the strongest in the galaxy. These humans are just good actors." Inside the training hall, Hyun was trying to concentrate on tactical simulations. The computer presented battle scenarios that required quick thinking and pattern recognition. Most alien cadets needed hours to work through these problems, but Hyun solved them in minutes. Living on Earth taught humans to spot danger fast. A shadow that moved wrong might be a predator. A change in wind could mean a storm was coming. A sound out of place might warn of falling rocks. This constant alertness made humans excellent at seeing patterns and threats. "Another perfect score," Sergeant Vexhai said, looking at Hyun's results. His voice carried no praise, only suspicion. "How convenient that you always know the right answers." "I just try to think about what could go wrong, Sergeant," Hyun replied. "Are you saying our scenarios are too simple for your Deathworld brain?" "No, Sergeant. I'm saying Earth taught me to expect trouble." The sergeant's armor plates shifted as his muscles tensed. "You've been here 3 weeks, human, and every day you act like you're better than everyone else. Perfect scores, perfect form, perfect attitude. But I know what you really are." Hyun remained silent. "On Earth, arguing with something bigger and stronger than you was usually a bad idea. You're a fake," the sergeant continued. "All this Deathworld nonsense is just stories to make you feel special. I've seen your files. Your planet has never produced a single warrior of note. No great battles, no famous victories, just a backwater. World full of primitives who think surviving makes them tough." Taemin stepped forward. "Sergeant, with respect, Earth has—" "Did I ask you to speak?" Vexhai roared, spinning toward Taemin. "You humans think you can defend each other like some pack of animals, but this isn't your savage world. This is a civilized academy." Sora and Daeho moved slightly closer to their friends. Not threatening, just ready. It was an unconscious response, the way humans naturally protected their group when danger appeared. Sergeant Vexhai saw the movement and his eyes narrowed. "There it is. The Deathworld instinct. You can't help yourself, can you? Always ready for violence, always expecting a fight? We're just standing here, Sergeant, Sora said quietly. You're positioning for combat. I can see it in your stance, your spacing, the way you watch my hands. You think I don't recognize predator behavior? On Earth, being ready isn't about violence, Deho said. It's about survival. Survival? The sergeant laughed, but it wasn't a pleasant sound. What do you soft creatures know about survival? My ancestors conquered 17 worlds. We built an empire with our bare hands while your people were still hiding in caves. Maybe, Taman said carefully, but we're still here. The wrong words again. Sergeant Vexhigh's face darkened with rage. Still here? Your world hasn't even joined the galactic community properly. You have no colonies, no fleet, no influence. You're nothing but a curiosity that will be forgotten. In a few generations. Hyun wanted to point out that Earth was young compared to most galactic civilizations. Humans had only discovered faster-than-light travel 50 years ago. But he kept quiet. The sergeant was looking for a fight, and Hyun didn't want to give him one. Since you Deathworlders are so special, Vexhigh continued, let's test that claim. Hyun, you'll spar with Cadet Zimka tomorrow. Full contact, minimal protection. Let's see how tough you really are. Zimka stepped forward eagerly. He was almost twice Hyun's size, with natural armor plates and muscles built for heavy gravity. His species had evolved for combat, with thick bones and redundant organs that could survive massive trauma. Sergeant, Hyun said carefully, the safety protocols state that interspecies combat requires... Are you refusing a direct order, Cadet? No, Sergeant. I'm asking about proper safety equipment. You'll wear standard sparring gear. If that's not enough for a tough Deathworlder, maybe you're not as special as you pretend to be. The other human cadets looked worried. They all knew that standard gear was designed for species with normal strength and fragility. It wouldn't protect anyone from what a human could do if they lost control. Sergeant, Sora tried to intervene. Perhaps we could discuss alternative training methods. Perhaps you could remember your place, Cadet. This is my training hall, and I decide what happens here. The session ended with tension thick in the air. As the humans walked back to their quarters, they talked quietly among themselves. This is bad, Taemin said. He's trying to set Yoon up for something. Zimka outweighs me by 60 kilos, Hyun pointed out. Maybe the sergeant thinks that will even things out. Weight isn't the problem, Sora said. The problem is what happens if you instinctively react like you're on Earth. Standard sparring gear won't protect him from Deathworld reflexes. Then I'll be extra careful, Hyun said. That's what he's counting on, Daeho realized. If you hold back and lose, he proves that humans aren't special. If you don't hold back and hurt Zimka, he proves that humans are dangerous and shouldn't be here. Either way, we lose, Taemin concluded. That night, Hyun lay awake thinking about the situation. On Earth, when a predator cornered you, there were limited options. Run, hide, submit, or fight. Here, running would mean leaving the academy in disgrace. Hiding was impossible. Fighting would only make things worse. That left submission. Let Zimka win, take whatever punishment came, and hope the sergeant was satisfied. It went against every instinct Hyun had developed growing up on Earth. But it might be the smart choice. The next morning, news of the planned match had spread throughout the academy. Alien cadets gathered outside the training hall, curious to see how a human would fight against a Thoraxian. Some whispered that it was unfair to pit them against each other. Others argued that it was time to see what Deathworlders could really do. Commandant Veltar arrived unexpectedly. Drawn by reports of unusual training methods, he observed silently as the cadets prepared for their match. "Standard rules, Sergeant," HFY announced. "First to submit or lose consciousness wins. Medical team is standing by, though I doubt they'll be needed." Hyun put on the sparring gear, lightweight padding designed for civilized species who fought with care and control. Across from him, Zimka did the same, his natural armor making the gear almost unnecessary. "Don't embarrass the sergeant," Zimka said quietly as they approached the center of the ring. "He's trying to teach you an important lesson." "I understand," Hyun replied. And he did. This wasn't really about fighting. It was about proving a point, showing the galaxy that humans weren't the dangerous unknowns that their reputation suggested. The match began with Zimka advancing confidently. His species had been warriors for thousands of years, their techniques refined through countless battles. He moved with the certainty of someone who had never lost to a smaller opponent. Hyun dodged the first attack, then the second. He could see the patterns in Zimka's movements, the telegraph of each strike, the openings that followed. Earth had taught him to read body language like a survival skill, but instead of attacking those openings, he let them pass. Instead of countering, he absorbed the hits that landed. The Thoraxian strikes were powerful, but not beyond what a human body could handle. Hyun had taken worse falls just walking around on Earth. The crowd of watching cadets began to murmur. They could see that the human was faster than his opponent, more agile, better at predicting attacks. But he wasn't fighting back effectively. "Is he even trying?" someone whispered. "Maybe Thoraxians really are stronger," suggested another voice. Sergeant HFY watched with growing satisfaction. This was exactly what he had wanted. Proof that Deathworld reputation was just talk, that real strength came from proper warrior, breeding and training. But Commandant Veltar was watching more carefully. His compound eyes could see things that others missed. The human's movements weren't those of someone losing. They were the movements of someone choosing not to win. Match continued with Zimka growing more confident and aggressive. His strikes became harder, his attacks more ambitious. He was enjoying the chance to humble a Deathworlder in front of the entire academy, and that's when he made his mistake. Overconfident and eager to finish the fight, Zimka wound up for a powerful finishing blow aimed directly at Hyun's head. For just a moment, every human instinct screamed danger. For just a moment, the careful control that kept humans from accidentally killing their alien classmates wavered. For just a moment, Lee Hyun forgot where he was and remembered only what he needed to survive. Time seemed to slow down as Zimka's massive fist came down toward Hyun's head. The Thoraxian had put his full weight behind the blow, confident that the smaller human couldn't avoid it. His armor-plated knuckles cut through the air with deadly force. In that split second, something deep inside Hyun's mind snapped into place. Not anger, not fear, just pure survival instinct. Every lesson Earth had beaten into him over 19 years of staying alive activated at once. On Earth, when a 2-ton predator charged at you, there was no time to think, no time to plan, no time to worry about being gentle or civilized. There was only time to react, to move, to do whatever it took to not die. Hyun's body moved before his conscious mind could stop it. His elbow came up in a defensive counterstrike, rising to meet Zimka's descending fist. It was a textbook response drilled into every human child. When something big tries to crush you, hit it first, and hit it hard. The collision happened in less than a tenth of a second. The sound was like a gunshot echoing through the training hall. Every conversation stopped. Every cadet froze. Even the medical team paused in shock at the sharp crack that filled the air. Zimka's scream came next, a sound of agony that no thoracian throat was meant to make. His massive arm bent at an impossible angle, the bone completely shattered by the impact. He collapsed to his knees, clutching his ruined limb and making noises that barely sounded intelligent. Hyun stood exactly where he had been, his elbow still raised in the defensive position. His breathing was calm and steady. His expression showed no anger, no satisfaction, no emotion at all. To him, this was normal. On Earth, you protected yourself or you died. Simple as that. The silence that followed was absolute. 200 alien cadets stared at the scene, their minds struggling to process what they had witnessed. The human hadn't used any special technique. He hadn't gotten angry or lost control. He had simply reacted the way his world had taught him to react. "Medical team to the training hall immediately," came an urgent voice over the Academy's communication system. The first to move was Commandant Veltar, who approached the fallen thoracian with careful steps. His compound eyes examined Zimka's arm, and even his alien features showed something like shock. "The bone is completely destroyed," he announced to no one in particular. "Not broken, destroyed." Dr. Hethra arrived with her medical team, an insectoid Catherian whose species had advanced healing technology. She ran scanners over Zimka's arm and made concerned clicking sounds. "How is this possible?" she asked, looking at her readings. "Thoracian bones are designed to withstand massive impacts. Their armor plating should have absorbed most of the force." "Deathworld physiology," Commandant Veltar said quietly, his eyes fixed on Hyun. "We should have studied the reports more carefully." Academy security arrived next, led by Captain Thaneros, a professional soldier from the Altarian Defense Force. He surveyed the scene and began taking statements from witnesses. "What happened here?" he demanded. "Sanctioned sparring match," Sergeant Vexhai replied, but his voice lacked its usual confidence. He was staring at Hyun like he was seeing him for the first time. Was this human using enhancement drugs? Illegal? Modifications? "No, sir," Dr. Hethra reported after running a quick scan on Hyun. "Standard human physiology. Nothing unusual detected." "Nothing unusual?" Captain Thaneros looked at the ruined thoracian cadet being loaded onto a medical stretcher. He destroyed a thoracian warrior's arm with a single strike. "Reflexive defensive response," the doctor explained. "His body reacted to perceived mortal danger. The force generated was—" She paused to check her scanner again. "The force generated was approximately 4 times what our safety calculations predicted for human combat." 4 times? Commandant Veltar moved closer to examine the data. "That's impossible. Our physiologists assured us that human strength was well within normal parameters." "Our physiologists," Dr. Hethra said slowly, "tested humans under controlled conditions. Calm, measured movements with conscious effort to limit force. This was an involuntary stress response." Hyun finally lowered his elbow, the defensive posture ending as the immediate threat disappeared. He looked around the training hall and saw the faces staring at him. Fear, shock, amazement, and something else. Recognition. For the first time since arriving at the Academy, the alien cadets were seeing humans as they really were. Not the carefully controlled, gentle beings who moved slowly and spoke softly in the corridors, not the weak primitives that Sergeant Vexhai had described. They were seeing creatures forged by a world that killed anything too slow, too weak, or too careless to survive. "Cadet Lee Hyun," Captain Thainro said formally. "You will come with me for questioning." "Yes, sir," Hyun replied, his voice perfectly calm. As he walked toward the security officer, the crowd of alien cadets parted before him, not with hatred or disgust, but with the instinctive respect that prey species gave to predators. They had just learned something important about the galaxy they lived in. Taemin started to follow, but Captain Thanaros held up a hand. "Human cadets will remain here until further notice." So-Ra, Dae-Ho, and the other humans watched their friend being led away. They understood what had happened better than anyone else in the room. Hyun hadn't attacked anyone. He hadn't lost his temper or tried to prove a point. He had simply done what humans do when faced with deadly force. He had defended himself, with exactly as much power as necessary. The problem was that necessary for a human was more than most species could survive. "This changes everything," Commandant Veltar said to Dr. Hethra as they watched the security team leave. "If our safety protocols are this inadequate, if our understanding of human capabilities is this flawed, we need to review all interspecies contact procedures," the doctor agreed. "And we need to do it quickly, before someone gets killed." Sergeant Vexhai stood alone in the center of the training hall, looking at the spot where his star student had fallen. For 3 weeks, he had pushed the humans harder and harder, trying to find their limits. He had insulted their world, questioned their courage, forced them into situations designed to humiliate them, and through it all, they had held back, not from weakness or fear, but from a strength so terrible that they dared not use it around fragile beings. They had absorbed his punishment and accepted his scorn because the alternative was too dangerous to consider. "Sergeant!" came a voice behind him. He turned to see Taemin approaching, moving with the same careful control that all humans used around other species. "What do you want?" Vexhai growled, though his voice lacked its usual authority. "I wanted to explain something," Taemin said quietly, "about Deathworlders. I think I've learned enough for one day." "No, sir. I don't think you have." Taemin stopped a safe distance away, his hands visible and non-threatening. "You kept saying we thought we were special because we came from a dangerous world. But you had it backwards." "What do you mean?" "We don't think we're special because Earth is dangerous," Taemin explained. "We think Earth is dangerous because we're still alive." Sergeant Vexhai stared at the young human, finally beginning to understand. "Every species that evolves on a death world has a choice," Taemin continued. "Get strong enough to survive or go extinct. The ones that survive, they become something the galaxy isn't ready for." Around the training hall, alien cadets were quietly filing out, their conversations hushed and worried. Word would spread quickly through the academy. The humans weren't weaklings pretending to be tough. They weren't primitives who got lucky. They were survivors of a selection process so brutal that it had turned them into something unprecedented, and they had been holding back. As the hall emptied, Sergeant Vexhai was left alone with a terrible new understanding. He had spent weeks trying to break the human cadets, to prove they weren't special. Instead, he had learned why the galaxy's safety protocols existed in the first place. Some species were too dangerous to fight, even when they were trying to be gentle. The investigation took 6 hours. Hyun sat in a small room with white walls, while Academy officials reviewed security footage, interviewed witnesses, and tried to understand what had happened. Captain Thanaros asked the same questions over and over, as if he expected different answers. Did you intend to seriously injure Cadet Zimka? No, sir. Were you angry at the time of the incident? No, sir. Did you use excessive force deliberately? I used the force necessary to protect myself, sir. Each time, Hyun gave the same calm answers. He wasn't being difficult or evasive. From his perspective, the questions didn't make sense. On Earth, when something tried to crush your skull, you stopped it with whatever force was available. The alternative was death. Finally, Commandant Veltar entered the room carrying a data pad filled with medical reports and academy regulations. He sat across from Hyun and studied him with compound eyes that missed nothing. Do you understand why? You're here, Cadet? Because I hurt someone, sir. Because you nearly killed someone, the Commandant corrected. Dr. Hethra says that if your strike had hit 6 centimeters higher, Cadet Zimka would have died instantly. Hyun absorbed this information without visible reaction. I'm sorry he was injured, sir. That wasn't my intention. What was your intention? To not die, sir. Commandant Veltar made a note on his datapad. The security footage shows that Cadet Zimka's attack, while powerful, was not intended to cause fatal injury. Standard sparring protocols were being followed. Yes, sir. So why did you respond with lethal force? Hyun considered the question carefully. How could he explain 19 years of survival training to someone who had never faced real danger? On Earth, sir, there's no such thing as a safe attack. If something big is trying to hit you, it's trying to kill you. You respond accordingly, or you don't respond at all. But this wasn't Earth. This was a controlled training environment. My body didn't know that, sir. When I saw the strike coming, my training took over. Earth training. The Commandant made another note. Are you saying you can't control these responses? I can control them when I know they're coming, sir. But this happened too fast to think about it. This was the heart of the problem, and everyone in the room knew it. The galaxy's safety protocols assumed that all species could consciously control their strength and reflexes. For most civilized races, this was true. They had evolved on safe worlds where measured responses were possible. Deathworlders were different. They had evolved to react instantly to mortal threats, with no time for conscious thought or measured responses. It was the difference between a garden and a battlefield. I've been reviewing your species files, Commandant Veltar said. The physiological reports we received were incomplete. They tested human capabilities under laboratory conditions, not stress responses. What does that mean, sir? It means we didn't understand what we were dealing with. The Commandant set down his datapad and looked directly at Hyun. Your people are walking weapons, aren't they? We're survivors, sir. Is there a difference? Hyun thought about this. On Earth, sir, every child learns to pull their punches when playing with friends. We learn to hug gently, to pat back softly, to shake hands without breaking fingers. We learn these things because if we don't, we accidentally hurt people we care about. And you've been doing this since you arrived here. Yes, sir. All humans do it automatically when around other species. Until something triggers your survival instincts. Yes, sir. Commandant Veltar was quiet for a long time, processing this information. Finally, he spoke again. There will be changes, Cadet. New protocols, new training methods, new safety procedures. What happened today cannot happen again. I understand, sir. Do you? Because I'm not sure I do. The Commandant stood and walked to the window, looking out at the peaceful gardens of the academy. We've had students from warrior cultures before, Thoraxians, Krexhai, even a few Vorthon berserkers. But they all understood the concept of measured force. We understand it too, sir. We just define it differently. Your measured force nearly killed a Thoraxian warrior. My measured force kept me alive, sir. Another long silence. Then, Commandant. Veltar returned to his seat and picked up his datapad. You're being released to your quarters, he announced. There will be no disciplinary action. The review board has determined that you acted in self-defense according to your species' natural responses. Thank you, sir. Don't thank me yet. Things are going to change around here, and not everyone will be happy about it. Hyun was escorted back to the human quarters, where his friends were waiting anxiously. They had spent the day fielding questions from Academy officials and worried alien cadets. "How's Zimka?" was Hyun's first question. "Alive," Sora reported. "Dr. Hethra says he'll recover, but his arm will never be as strong as it was. The bone regeneration technology can fix the break, but not the structural damage." "He's been asking to see you," Taemin added. "Says he wants to apologize." Apologize? For what? For not understanding what he was dealing with. That evening, Hyun visited the medical bay. Zimka lay in a bio-regeneration tank, his arm wrapped in healing gel and surrounded by bone growth stimulators. He looked much smaller than he had in the training hall. "I'm sorry," Hyun said quietly. "No," Zimka replied, his voice weak but clear. "I'm sorry. I thought I was just sparring with another cadet. I didn't realize I was attacking a Deathworlder." "You weren't attacking anyone. We were just training." "Training?" Zimka attempted a laugh, but it came out as a wheeze. "Human, you could have killed me without even trying. I've been a warrior my whole life, and you made me feel like a child. That wasn't my intention. I know. That's what makes it so terrifying." Zimka turned his head to look directly at Hyun. "My people have conquered 17 worlds. We pride ourselves on being the strongest species in the galaxy. But you broke my arm like it was made of glass, and you weren't even angry." "Earth is hard," Hyun said simply. "Harder than we imagined." Over the following days, word of the incident spread throughout the academy. The reaction was mixed. Some alien cadets were frightened of the humans, avoiding them in corridors and requesting separate training schedules. Others were fascinated, asking endless questions about Earth and Deathworld survival. The Academy's administration worked frantically to develop new safety protocols. Human cadets would train separately in reinforced facilities. Sparring between humans and other species was prohibited. Even casual physical contact required special permits and supervision. "We're becoming a curiosity," Sora observed as they walked through corridors that seemed to empty when they approached. "Better than being seen as weaklings," Daeho replied. "Is it?" Taemin asked. "Now they're afraid of us. That's not better, just different." But some things did improve. The humans found themselves included in advanced tactical courses, their pattern recognition and threat assessment skills highly valued. Engineering students sought out Sora's expertise in designing systems that could withstand extreme conditions. The Academy's survival training program was completely rewritten to incorporate Deathworld techniques. Sergeant Vexhai never returned to teaching. He transferred to administrative duties, claiming that his combat skills were better suited to strategic planning. Everyone understood the real reason. He couldn't face the humans after learning what they really were. 3 weeks after the incident, Hyun received a letter from home. His sister Mi-jin had heard about the events at the academy through military channels. "Are you all right?" she wrote. "The reports make it sound like you hurt someone badly. I hope you're not blaming yourself. Remember what Father always said. On Earth, we learn to be gentle because we have to be. But when gentleness isn't enough, we do what we must to survive." Hyun wrote back that night, sitting in the human quarters and looking out at the peaceful gardens of the academy. "I'm fine," he wrote. "The other students understand us better now. They finally realize why Earth is called a death world. Not because it's trying to kill us, but because it succeeded in making us nearly unkillable in the process. We're not monsters or weaklings. We're survivors. And sometimes, that's the most dangerous thing you can be." He sealed the letter and prepared for sleep. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new lessons, new opportunities to prove that humans belonged in the galaxy. But tonight, he could rest knowing that his fellow cadets finally saw him clearly. They saw a young man from a world so harsh that it had forged him into something unprecedented. Someone who could absorb punishment that would break most species, who could think faster than most computers, who could react to threats with precision that seemed impossible. Someone who had learned to be gentle because the alternative was too terrible to consider. A death worlder, in all the wonderful and frightening ways that term implied. Outside his window, the Academy's artificial stars shone down on a station full of young beings learning to become soldiers and explorers. Among them, 12 humans carried the lessons of a world that had tried to kill them every day of their lives. And in carrying those lessons, they carried the future of human-alien relations, one careful step at a time.